On YouTube. All right, so as a nonprofit organization, you always want to make sure that you are what's considered grant ready. Now, you may hear the term thrown around a lot in Facebook groups and things like that, different places that you go into, different circles that you go into. But this particular, like doing these particular things, I'm going to teach you how to do today. I don't have a PowerPoint for you, but I am going to go as slow as possible and repeat it a few times so you can make sure that you check that list. Because the one thing I want your organization to make sure, like especially if you got the AI powered the AI powered grant writing prompts, this is going to make it easier for you to go through the whole grant writing application process if you have your T's crossed and I's dotted. So you really need to make sure like this is something you are putting, some type of priority to. Because then at the end of the day, like if you don't prioritize it, nobody can do that for you. And once you do it and you have it, then you are good to go. So you have to make sure that this here, you being grant ready is not something that you're leaving for tomorrow or leaving for another day. You just get the work done and get all of that information in one place. So once you start locating the grants that you need to, and speaking of grant writing prompts, if you have difficulty finding grants and you purchase the grant writing prompt, there is a prompt to teach you how to use ChatGPT to find grants for you. So that's one way. It can give you a few grants, like find here and there, but definitely use the AI powered grant writing prompts to research grants. Now, if you don't have that, definitely check the link, my stand store, to find to get your copy. So being grant ready in the US, I'm speaking particularly to organizations, 501(c)(3) organizations in the United States. Being grant ready are the things that you will or may need in the future to file a grant application. Because then when you're filing a grant application, if you have this information in like at arm's reach, and you're not like scouring or trying to run together to put it together, it makes the whole application process that much easier. So I'm gonna like go over a few things I want you to start doing. Now, when you are applying for a grant, now let's say I'm gonna talk about grants that are 4 to 5 figures or even higher. Because when you are going for grants that are in that range, they ask for a bit more than they do if you're applying for like the Walmart grants and like smaller grants. Smaller grants have a tendency to ask for a lot too, but that's neither here or there. You have to pay attention to what you need for grant readiness overall. Okay. So the first thing I'm gonna ask you to do, like if you do not have a pen, paper, this is the time for you to get it. I'm just going to give you a few seconds. Go get a pen and paper because I'm going to go through a list of things that you need to do and have in place. Because when you are doing these grant applications, remember in one of my posts, I said this is a numbers game. So if you are applying for grants and you're seeking to increase your revenue with grant revenue, and you need to apply for a lot of them, okay? Because then not all of them will get approved, a few of them will get rejected. That's why it's important to like have discernment when hiring a grant writer. If you're not grant ready, if your organization is not ready, then it might not be the best time for you to hire your grant writer. So you need to make sure that you are grant ready, that you've applied for grants and got the revenue to pay a grant writer. And that's why I even created the AI powered grant writing prompts, as well as the training on how to use AI. But by now you should have your notebook, paper, or pen, pencil, whatever it is. So the first thing I'm gonna need you to do, you need to start a folder. I don't care if it's a Google folder. I don't care what kind of folder you're starting, you need to open a folder. Now, once you open that folder, I'm going to start going over documents that you need to put in there. Because then you need to make sure these documents are in there and allowing you to like refer to that specific folder every time you're applying for a grant. Because what's not going to happen is you looking like you don't have it together when you're applying for a grant, especially some of them have like short timelines. And if you didn't know about it from using your grant calendar, then you need this folder. So first thing you're going to drop in this folder is your IRS determination letter, your tax exempt letter that you receive from the IRS. You need to go ahead and drop the PDF version of that in that folder. That will be the first thing that I'm going to say that you need to do. So drop your IRS determination letter in that folder. So once that is done, I want you to think of if you have an operational budget for the next 2 years for your organization. Now, if you did not create one yet, I'm going to open a draft I have here. And then I'm going to go over what needs to be in that budget, the annual operational budget. Because in some grants you apply, they're going to ask you, what was your annual budget, your operational budget for year 2023, right? They're going to want you to provide 2023, and then you're going to have to upload that information. But if you don't have that, I strongly recommend, especially if you're a newer organization, to start working backwards. Like, what programs do you have right now? What projects do you have? What are you planning to do? What are the expected expenses? What's the expected revenue? And that's why I tell nonprofits planning goes a long way in a nonprofit, because if you fail to plan, you plan to fail. And this is a great example because the operational budget is an indicator of what your organization intends to do in a year, or what it intended to do and what was what actually happened, right? And sometimes they'll ask you for the current year operational budget. So definitely do not miss out on creating that. So I have the template open on this screen. I'm going to go over like different things that you need to include on, because there is a annual budget template. If anybody needs a template, definitely shoot me a DM and let me know you want the annual operational budget, and I will send you the link to get the free copy. So for the nonprofit annual budget for whatever year, now one thing you want to make sure that you include on this document before you upload it to them, I make it standard. I include the organization name, the organization EIN, the organization business address, the phone number, and the email. So that's going to be at the top, right? Now, for the description, like whatever it was, so let's say insurance, what type of insurance, what we budgeted, what the actual cost was, what the difference. So this one is like if it's retrospective, like meaning for 2023, and we determine the budget at the end of the year, you can go in that column for actual and include those numbers, right? So it shows that you are consolidating and actually matching, like, okay, this is what we budgeted and this is what we expected to need, and this was the actual expense for that. Because then they'll see what you budgeted for your expenses and what you actually spent. Now, the other aspect of the operational budget is making sure that you are listing sources of revenue. Okay, where's your revenue going to come from? Because they want to know that. And that's why that document is really important. Okay, so you have to list, okay, you expect to get XYZ from grants. Like, you don't have to break down which grants. This is how much money we're going to go for grants. And if you have not signed up for my Diversify Revenue workshop, this is one thing we're going to be working on in there, is making sure that you identify which percentage of your revenue is going to come from what activity. Because then grants, let's say 20% of your revenue is going to come from grants. 80% is going to come from donations. No, that's too much. So 20 from grants, 60 from donations. I have 20% of 10% from sponsorships, 10% from fees of service, or however you want that to work out. Okay, so you'll break it down in your operational budget as well to make sure that they see where your money's gonna come from. Now, let me know if that makes sense. Let me know if you understand that. If you are watching the replay and if you are live, drop a 1 in the comments if that makes sense, because I want to make sure that you understand that process so you can generate one for yourself. And if you want the template, definitely let me know. I'll send you that because I told you first thing you need to do, open that folder. Second thing, upload the IRS determination letter in there to make sure that it's there. And the next thing is to ensure that you have your annual operational budget, in place. So you have that in place, that you have that there. So when they're asking for it, you already have that. Okay. And if anybody asks you questions about your budget, you don't have to go around thinking and making up numbers. You already know. Hey, Zoe. So you already know. And the next thing that I want you to put in there is your executive summary. Your executive summary, if you actually got the grant writing templates bundle, there's a template for that. And that template goes over how to write your executive summary and make it more powerful. Because oftentimes, I'll be honest, the executive summaries that funders are reading don't really stand out. So you want to make sure that your executive summary, how you describe your project overview, what you're trying to do, really stands out. And there's a executive summary template in the grants writing template bundle that you can also get in my Stancer. So definitely look into that. Because then the way you write and the way you explain your organization, the projects that you're working on really makes a difference. And that's where you'll be able to put it in your executive summary. And when you have your executive summary inside that grant readiness folder I told you to start, one thing it will do, hey, Radiance, how are you doing? One thing it will do, it will help you every time you're writing a grant application. A lot of the applications will ask you to describe your organization, to provide information that's in the executive summary. So that's not something that you have to start from scratch. You already have that in place. So make sure you get the grant writing templates bundle and start working on the documents. Use the templates that are in there because most of these templates you're going to have to upload in that folder that I told you to start. So your executive summary, that's something else that you need to put in there. Now, the next item you need to ensure is in your folder. Make sure you write that down so you can make sure you put that in your folder, are your tax documents. Your tax documents will include your 990s and your W-9s. So make sure that those documents are in that folder. Because there are a few grant applications, they will ask you to upload your 990 and you do not want to go back to your accountant or go in the folder like, oh my gosh, where did I put 2023 990? So always make sure that your 990s are in this particular folder to ensure that when you're applying for grants, it's ready to go. And if you filed a 990N, a 990N is for organizations that are making less than $50,000 a year. So it's kind of like an easy process where they just go on the IRS website, say they didn't make more than 50,000 and then indicate how much they made. Or not how much they made. They made less than 50,000. They're not going to ask you for a lot of information, just that you made less than 50, who your board members are and stuff like that. Because I know in the state of California, that's what you have to do also every year. So your 990, and make sure you do that. And your state also has documentation and wants you to file. Please do that. Get your federal documentation in place and get your state documentation in place. Because if you don't do that, then it's going to put you in a place where they might be looking for you on the state database and you're not there. You're not even an exempt organization on the state database. So you want to make sure that your organization is definitely compliant with the state that you're serving, because if you're not, then some funders won't even consider you, because some of them will actually put that as a stipulation in their eligibility criteria. And some folks don't understand, like they just think they see exempt in the state of XYZ, and that means no, I have my 501(c)(3) tax exempt letter. That's it. No, like a grant a nonprofit I was working with, they actually like lost an opportunity to apply for a grant because the grant clearly said that they need to have the exempt status with the state of California Department of Justice. They did not have that. Because then come to find out, a lot of nonprofits in California do not know they need to register with the state to raise money, to fundraise, get donations and stuff like that, or even have an exempt status with the Franchise Tax Board. So those are things that are important. Like, even though it doesn't seem like anything to you, but it does matter, and it does help your nonprofit stand out as an organization that has their operations running effectively. So make sure to check with your state to see what documentations you need, like state-wise, and then check with the federal government, like your 990 or W-9s. Make sure you have that, because your W-9 is just simple. You just fill out the name of the organization, the EIN, get the signature from whoever the signatory is. So if it's your executive director, get that, and just every year update it. And just put one in there, or maybe every semester just have a fresh one in that folder, but at least it's there. Or if you want to do one without the signature, and then every time you just send it over to get a signature, that's something else that you can do. But those documentations, the W-9 needs to be in there, your 990s need to be in there, your letters of compliance with your state, make sure they're in there so you can have something that you can go by. Now, for those who make less than 50K, if they're asking for 990s, I wanted to leave this one and not go into it yet. But if you make less than 50K, but you're applying for grants, then there's something you need to do. But give me 1 second, everybody. Let me read a comment from Zoe. So Zoe said, if you aren't compliant, you aren't even eligible. You're missing that. Yes, because then you will miss out on $300,000 of grant monies because your project sounded like the best thing since sliced bread, but you were not compliant with your state because you are a nonprofit organization. You're just not compliant with the state, but they're funding organizations that have state compliance. So make sure that your status is current with your. So yeah, the organization I was talking about, they were applying for a minimum of 300K, but they could have applied for up to 2 million. So that's a lot of money they missed out on because of just this one part. And when I told them it was a month before the deadline, they actually applied the same day and they got approved a few days after the deadline. So it's always in your best interest to ensure that you are compliant across the board. You have your state paperwork, you have your federal paperwork, everything's intact, everything's in place, you have everything in a folder, you're just good to go. Because then every time you file your 990, if you have an accountant that knows what they're doing, they will file for the state paperwork at the same time. So always make sure to ask whether or not the paperwork for the state was also filed. And then, yeah, because I was going to go into a rabbit hole about quarterly taxes and everything, but no, I'm not going to go down that rabbit hole. So the next thing here, if you make less than 50K and you filed a 990N, make sure you have, even if you file a 990, have a profit and loss statement ready for that tax year to illustrate, because some of them will ask you for the budget and the profit and loss statement. And I sincerely believe it's to corroborate like your profit and loss statement and what your budget, what you thought it was going to be, to see if it makes sense, if it's clicking, if you're just making numbers out of thin air, or if you know what you're talking about. Because your profit and loss statement should be able to show that. And sometimes if you have the ability to get a software like QuickBooks or even 1-800-accountant. That one is the one that the nonprofit I used to work with had. They actually generate that for you, and your bank account purchases, they organize it for you so it's easier for you to generate a profit and loss statement. So look into what softwares you can get. I know TechSoup, you can get QuickBooks at a discounted rate or free. I don't remember exactly. So definitely check where you can get things like that so you can generate these things in a way that makes sense for your organization, okay? And if you only have the profit and loss statement, get a letter written from the executive director or any leader that can sign this letter to, I don't want to say the word explain, but to let funders know, hey, XYZ organization has been working to do this and that. This is the program we have in place. Currently, we're working to increase our capacity and bring in more funding, and kind of explain where you guys are and what the budget is so they can see that the executive director understands what's going on financially and that you're actively trying to increase your budget and your capacity for more. Because oftentimes they want to know that the executive director, an attestation letter from the executive director or the leader for finances and stuff like that. So have a letter in place from the ED or something that corroborates the work that you're doing and the current budget that you're working under. Now, the next thing I'm thinking you should put in that folder is really an audit. Because then an audit by an independent or company to audit your organization, financial audit to make sure that your organization has everything in place. Because then some grants will ask you for an audit if you don't have an audit to upload financial documents and stuff like that. But if you don't have one yet in the first 3 to 5 years, start talking to an auditor, ask them what you need to have in place so an audit process can happen, find out the price and things like that, get it done, because you may be thinking, oh, that's another thing we have to pay for. Like I said in a post, like the money is just, it's gonna come. It's a tool. You have to pay to play. Because just because you're a nonprofit does not mean that everything's free. You had to pay to become a nonprofit, for God's sake. So we have to make it make sense. So I want you to start like looking into auditors to see what is needed for your organization to get a professional audit done, and start thinking about getting that done every couple of years so you can have an updated audit, because a lot of grants that are providing more funds will ask for that. Okay, they will ask for an audit. And if you don't have an audit, they will ask for all these financial documents. And then the other thing that some grants ask for, it's not a stipulation to apply for the grant, but you have to make sure that you read into it to see, because some of them will ask that you get insured. You get a certain insurance to when you receive the money. So these are things that you have to think about as well, but folder conversation wise, your audit, put it in that folder. Put that audit in that folder and just be ready. So find out what it costs, get it done, just put it in there. Okay. Now, in terms of what it costs, because then certain expenses or necessary expenses that are going to help you get to the road of getting more money, more revenue. Okay. And the next thing you need to work on, and the last thing I'm going to talk about today, because I think my mouth is just like, if you have any questions, you just got to let me know so I can go in detail about it. But the next thing that I know we should have in there, not every grant application asks for it, but it's going to come up eventually, and I want you to have it ready. It's the organizational chart and board of directors information. So your organizational chart, like who works in your organization right now, who's responsible for what, and the hierarchy. Because then make sure you have an organizational chart in place, because when funders are asking for that, they want to see currently what the human capacity is. Like, do you have the staff to do the work that you're saying you're going to do in this project? What can your organization actually do? So make sure you have an organizational chart in place. And one thing that you can do, let's say you've already worked on knowing the positions you want to hire, you don't have all of them filled. Maybe you have the executive director, the project manager or whatever. You can list those different positions, but let's say there's somebody else that's supposed to be under the project manager, they don't have that yet. Put it and just put vacant, what that person's supposed to be doing. Okay, so like create your organizational chart, like get a template. Like everything is figure outable. Like I don't have an organizational chart template, so that one I can't help you with, but get a template for that. Just go on Google, organizational chart template, or go on Microsoft Word, just open it and put like organizational chart or figure it out, just have it done, save it, put it in that folder. Because doing that is not going to hurt anybody, and it's only going to make sure that your organization has the tools that it needs to apply for grants. And when you bring somebody on to help you with the grant application process, you hire a grant writer, you can just tell them, hey, these are the documents. This is what you can use for this application. If you have any other questions, please come about my way. Okay, so the grant readiness folder I am telling you to build not only will help your organization right now, but as you're increasing your capacity and getting a professional to help you in that, with that as well, with the grant writing aspect, it will help them too. Now let me go over, because I know I wrote some more stuff, because I'm always writing and researching because I want to make sure I share as much as possible with you so you can have what you need. All right. So in the grant writing template bundle, I know I talked about that, because then if you're looking to put these documents together and put in there, I know I talk about the letter of support from your ED that you can put in there, but also the letter of attestation of the financial status of the organization. So with these templates, the executive summary template, that's in the grant writing bundle. The problem statement template is in there. You have a program design and implementation template. Because when you're writing, oh, my Zoom done froze. If you can still hear me, can you drop a 1 in the comments? Because then my Facebook is just doing the circle of death right now, and I want to make sure you can hear me. So drop a 1 in the comments if you can still hear me. So please let me know. Whoever's here, please let me know. Because I see there's one, there are a few people watching, and I want to make sure that you can still hear me. All right. So it's moving again. I'm moving again. So the grants writing template bundle. So what else is in there? You have the program design and implementation template. So with the program design and implementation template, one thing that's important with that is oftentimes organizations are applying for grants and they have no idea what the grant they're applying for is for. They're just making stuff up on the go. So with that template, what I want nonprofits to do is look at that template and design a few projects or programs that you would want your organization to have in place. Doesn't mean you have it right now. Okay. Think about the programs that you would want to implement that align with your mission, that in your heart of hearts, you know you want to do it. Doesn't mean you have it right now, but things that you would want to do. I want you to start thinking about the goal of this program / project, how you're going to put it in place, what the activities, the project program activities are going to be, the timeline, how is it going to be disseminated? Are you going to do outreach first? Because a lot of times some organizations don't think about that. You are excited about a program. Yes, you want the youth to participate. Yes, you want community members and veterans to participate. But then your program comes out ain't nobody participating because they don't know about it. So you have to think in your design and implementation of this program and project, the outreach aspect of it. How are you reaching out and making sure you have people inside of your program? So the program design and implementation template, I want you to think about these things and write them there. Like who is going to be there, who is going to participate, the demographic, why you want to serve these people, right? And find actual data to support what you want to do. Because too many people want to do things just because it feels right, not because there's a need. And that needs to be something you cut out, right? There needs to be a need. You need to do some research to figure out if the program that you want to get these funders to pay money for is actually needed. So the program design and implementation template, that's where you can design the different programs that you would want and add that to that grant readiness folder. Because when you put that in that grant readiness folder and you have a grant application that comes up and you find out they're granting, let's say, for example, like youth workshops or youth programs or programs that are increase the participation in youth in the community, whatever it is, you're going to be like, oh, I have that already. Let me go find that and write that so it can fit this narrative. Because that's what you want to do at this point. You want whatever programs you have to fit the priorities of the funder. Because if they do not fit the priorities of the funder is not going to want to fund it. So have that in place. And then with the prompts that I have in the grant AI powered grant writing prompts, you can just upload whatever you design. Because then I told you have that program design and implementation ready. You can just upload that. Hey, this is the project I want to do for this request for proposal. Can you rewrite this to align with the priority of the funders? And then ChatGPT or Claude AI will do that for you. Because then I'm telling you, at the end of 2024, there's no reason for anyone to not be in the position they want to be in. Because I am giving you some of these tools that have helped me secure, like in September, $400,000 alone for one nonprofit. So you're getting the tools, you're getting the knowledge. Hey, Gerda, you're getting the knowledge that you can use and the tools that you can use to get yourself in the same position. So get the grant writing templates, Mondo. Get the AI powered grant writing prompts. And if that is not something that you need right now, you just need a thought partner that's going to assist you with getting your nonprofit like position in a way that's strategic and do more for its community, increase its impact and increase its revenue. The 2-week on-demand strategy sprint, Voxer support, that might be something that you need. So definitely let me know what you need because I basically went from top to bottom, how to prepare your grant readiness folder, told you what resources that I have available to make sure you're grant ready, and that you have the tools that you need to write your grant applications, and more. It's just up to you at this point because you can't force a horse to drink water because then you can tell me what you need, but I can only guide you and tell you what you can do. Like it's really up to the leadership and the organization to make the decisions that are going to lead it to the next step. Because in a nonprofit organization, like I said, if you watch this live from the beginning, you'll hear about the different steps that you can do to make sure you have a grant readiness folder ready. So when you're applying for grants or when you hire a grant writer, it streamlines the process and it makes it easier for you to make sure that you're ready. So all of these things that I shared today, they are meant to serve you and your nonprofit organization so you can start using grants in a way that support the impact you're trying to make. Because you have the tools. It's just a matter of how you use them and how you decide to use them. So yeah, I'm so glad I got to teach us today about grant readiness and making sure you have that folder ready. If you have any questions about grant readiness or anything I talked about today, I want you to let me know in the comments. I'm gonna drop a few more links in here for the grant writing templates bundle, for the the AI powered grant writing prompts, and for the on-demand strategy sprint, 2 weeks Voxer support. So let me know what seems like the best option for you, or send me a DM, because then I am here to support you. I'm here to ensure that you have what you need. If you need the annual operational budget template, I can just send you a copy or send you the link so you can get your free copy. Let me know what you need, because today's a new week. It's a new week, right? And it's almost the end of the year, and my goal is to make sure that you are ready for 2025. Okay, there are so many things that you can do to get ready for 2025, and that's one of them. Now, the other thing is the Diversify Revenue Workshop, which is happening on November 12th, next week, next Tuesday. Sign up for that. I'll put the link in the comments for that too, because you have so many options. It's whether or not you're going to take action on it. But all right, I'm gonna go now. Let me get off here because then I'm gonna keep rambling. If you have any questions, let me know. Bye, y'all.